Oh, I have to plan my action research project. It seems so overwhelming. It seems like my Rufusy head would just pop off. Oh no. No, it won't. You'll be just fine. Welcome to Chapter 4. We're going to be going over the practical steps for planning an action research project. Some of the questions to go and ask, the issues to think about. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, before we do, I want to remind you that if you have questions through this stage of things, which I can't imagine someone not having questions, that's what the chat room's for. Let's talk to each other about it. That's what the discussion forum is for. Let's talk to each other about it. And email me. Give me a call. I will do my absolute best to go and help you through things. But a collaborative part of action research, in my experience, is often what makes it the most successful. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Planning for action research. Okay? Some of the initial planning includes identifying and limiting a topic. Now, I've talked about that before, how we have a tendency to start out this broad and we want to go down to be this narrow. I don't want you to have the impression that it has to be so completely finely focused, like you could look through my fingers here, that it's not useful. It has to be something that is researchable within the time frames of this course and is of practical use to you as well. Okay? Gather information related to this topic. Find out what has been done before. If it's been qualitative, if it's been quantitative, if you're in a rural setting and it's been done in an urban setting or a suburban setting, find those things out. Gather as much information as you can. The bullet down towards the bottom says it all. Okay, it is crucial. It is absolutely important, and this lays the framework for everything that comes after this. Now, the deal with emergent design, I've mentioned this in the previous chapter, it's good because it helps the study evolve as it needs to. It should not be considered a pass in that you just get to do what you want and change it midstream. You go into something like this mindful as possible. Okay? So identifying your topic for your research. Okay? If you don't have a specific topic, if you don't know something off the top of your head, excuse me, go ahead and take a look around your school. If it's not something that is in your classroom, maybe it's something that's in the school at large. Maybe it's a problem. Maybe it's something that you haven't really thought about, but it kind of amounts to that squeaky wheel, something you can take a look at. You don't want this to be too broad, too vague, or too narrow, like we've said before. I'd call this the Goldilocks scenario. You want it to be just right so you can look just at what you need to. Here's some possible topics, some suggestions towards the bottom. This tends to be what a lot of people do go and look at because they are researchable and because they are of practical use to them. But again, communication is often what goes and helps formulate the best approach to any research project. Okay, once a topic has been identified, you should evaluate it against several practical considerations. And here are some good ones that are listed here. What I would say to this, and these are all very relevant dimensions of deciding what topic you want to look at. You want this to be worth it to you. You want this to be worth your time. You want this to have some relevance in your teaching because you're taking this class so that there's some part of the school context that can be improved on or refined or tweaked just a little bit. So make it relevant to you. Make it worth your time. And I'll say the same thing when it comes to the culminating research project. Okay, gather preliminary information. Do the reconnaissance part. Now, you can certainly go and talk to people. Well, let me back up. You can certainly go and consult the research literature. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I would also talk to your administrator. Talk to other teachers. I've had a number of students that have come to their culminating research project and they went up to their principal and they said, I have to do this research project to complete my master's degree. I've got to do something, but I'm not really sure what I want to do. Is there anything that the school could use, some information the school could use, that I could just take a closer look at? And lo and behold, that has happened. We've had papers done that dealt with looping practices, best practices in looping, with RTI instruction. I mean, there have been some very impressive papers done with the input and feedback from administrators. So I would suggest you go and tap into that resource if you feel like it would benefit you. A note on the bottom, it's critical to examine your own beliefs. Which, I mean, this makes it, what is worth going in and researching. This is also a reflection of your own philosophy. Okay. Here are some observations for the forms that reconnaissance can go and take. Okay, and this is just, these are part of the way teaching works. I mean, we all know that, but the source that we get our research questions or our projects or our problems from tends to come about as a reflection of our own experience and our own philosophy. So I would strongly suggest that you take a look at these and ask yourself how they go and how they apply to you, how these are affected by the way that you see the schooling experience. Review of the literature. Every single case study will have a review of the literature, and we'll go over this more as time goes by. When you go and you look at the syllabus, it also has part of this in here. This is very necessary in any research project so that you know what came before you. You also know whether it was right, whether it was wrong, how dated it is. You can take the good parts from it. You can go and say that this study is one that bears repeating because the conclusions were wrong. I mean, a lit review is absolutely essential. Otherwise, people are just making it up as they go. Now, some research problems, there may not be a big pool of research literature that's out there. There were a couple students that did projects over the use of play to increase academic achievement. A very interesting topic. What they found out was that there was literally a 10-year lag where almost no research existed. So just be aware of that. You want to know the historical evolution of this topic. Okay? Okay, things to be aware of. This is food for thought right here. You want to go and, a good way to summarize this is be aware of the landscape. Empirical research articles versus opinion pieces. This is just a basic part of research. You do not want to include opinion pieces as if they were empirical pieces. Okay? What kind of objectivity of related literature is there? Or is that something that you're noticing that is absent? That's up to you to go and look at. Primary versus secondary sources. A lot of times people, when they use different kinds of sources, quoting someone that quoted another individual, that's fine. But if you quote a quoter, go back to the original quote. That's almost difficult to say in rapid succession. A variety of methods for locating literature. Specialized search indexes or databases. ERIC, always ERIC is there. Google Scholar, ProQuest search engines. What I would also do is utilize the LibGuide for this class. There's one that has been set up for culminating research projects. And there will be some more on that so that you can utilize this. Now, the deal with this is that it's free and you can retrieve full text articles, and that can go and help you in the writing of your paper. It can also help you in your culminating research project. If you go and you do something like Google Scholar, I used Google Scholar myself. However, there are some articles that you have to pay for, and so you just have to make the decision, what are you going to do there? If it were me, this is only my opinion, I would use the LibGuide, because IU East subscribes to several different search engines, and databases, and we have access to them because, you know, you're students and I'm faculty. Here's a screenshot of ERIC. You might check that out. It's always got some really good information. Another thing that you might consider, another resource you might consider, and this isn't in this PowerPoint, so I'm just going to say it and you're going to have to write it down. So write this down. National Center for Educational Statistics. And I believe the address is www.nces.ed.gov. And what that is you can go and look up different kinds of studies, and it's for purposes of retrieving statistics only. So if your study is the kind that would benefit from that, and it's its own search engine, feel free to go check it out, okay? All right, writing a lit review. This is the thing that I will suggest here is you want to go and say, you know, my purpose in doing this study is to, you know, better illustrate, you know, the impact of this particular practice or this particular policy, etc. You want to cover this like it's a well-organized research paper. You're trying to guide the reader through what has been done. And like the top bullet says, every body of literature is different. So you're going to have to use your own best judgment in writing right here. Okay? But some suggestions for making sure that you convey what needs to be conveyed. This will not have to be exhaustive. I would say 10 to 12 references will probably do nicely. You'll need more for your culminating project, but for an action research project, you want to get the feel for it. But you can't just go and cite 1 or 2 or 3 different sources. You have to go and spread it around, okay? And last but not least, when you go and write this, you'll take a look at this screen where it says your methodology and then most similar literature, more similar literature, and broadly related literature. It's also worth your time to state how some studies may be different from yours. In doing that, you can say, this is my rationale for deciding on this kind of an approach as opposed to the kind of approach that was conducted in a study back in 1995. You know, it shows that you're thinking. It also shows the evolution of the issue that is being researched. Okay? So those are just a few steps of planning for action research and going up through writing of the lit review. Be sure to, like I say in all these videos, be sure to look at the module instructions so that you can get done what needs to get done here. And if you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. So I'm going to close this out and we'll move on to Chapter 5. See you later.